Now that we've got these wells in place, obviously we need to collect data from it. So today we're here collecting water samples from our Westbay Multiport well. And as I mentioned before, we have 9 Westbay zones and actually a 10th zone above that, so we can collect water samples for water quality analyses in these 10 zones. And what this is a demonstration of is a single sampling zone in the Westbay system. So we have a packer above, we have a packer below, and these are inserted in the borehole, and then they're inflated. So once these are inflated with water, they're sealing off the borehole. So water in this part of the borehole is not mixing above and below. So when we pull a sample from this zone, this is one of our measurement port, we measure water levels and actually collect samples from here. So this is where we have this device that Justin's working with right now to lower it down the real well, but this is sort of a mock-up of that, in which we have this tool and we have a little tiny hole here, and that needs to line up perfectly with this little tiny hole down here. So you can see that little metal bead. Those are 2 valves. And we lower this down and it reaches the exact point because of this little arm and this groove that's cut in here. I do this now and drop it down in there. Let it go down. And you see it coming down. You see this arm, see how it's twisting there? Because it's trying to land on that exact point. So if I go down, it twists and lands and stops. So at this point, those 2 little holes are perfectly lined up. And then we will open this little arm here that pushes this whole tool over here, and that opens the valve on the outside. Then we throw a switch on the instruments to open the second valve, and that lets water from the outside here to flow into this device and go into the tubes like we saw just a few minutes ago with the sampling tubes, these steel sampling tubes. So this is a system for collecting samples out of the Westbay system. So again, this is one single sampling zone, and there's 9 of these down there. We have 9 packers, to get 9 Westbay sampling zones out of it. And so we're in the process, we're now at zone 2, which is the second from the bottom. So it takes a while to go back and forth. We need about 3 liters of sample because we're also doing isotopes, and the isotopes take about 2 liters of sample, where just the normal analyses only take 1. So we have to make 3 trips down there to get 1 liter of sample for each trip. Well, once we get water samples, we send it to a laboratory that will analyze for a wide variety of parameters, cations, anions, metals, and certain inorganics that we analyze for. So that lets us know, for one thing, it just tells us some parameters for water quality. There are minerals in there that aren't good, like sulfates. And here in the Cow Creek, we don't expect any of that. This is very good drinking water. But it will tell us a wide range of parameters that then we can compare to other wells and better understand the aquifer, because we know the distribution of these various parameters. Whereas the calcium higher than other zones, or manganese, or certain metals, and the various parameters, they give us a good idea of what that water is like in that spot. Because some of the water in the hill country is loaded with minerals, and some of them aren't very good, like the sulfates that smell bad, taste bad, and aren't very healthy for you if they get above a certain level. So we need to find out, well, which zones are those, and where are those poor water quality areas, so we can better understand and protect the aquifer and protect the users of the aquifers.